did not have one, so I'm trying to get it right up front. So let's go ahead and do that tonight too. So does this motion pass to utilize this process?
Yeah, so we just.
Yeah, I vote aye to approve the election process. Yeah, just go around and line around. Just voting on whether or not to approve the
I
process.
vote yes to approve the process.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Sounds like we've got unanimous.
Next
Okay, so now we have officially got the process. Floor is opened up for any board member to nominate a fellow board member or themselves for chair. If anybody wants to open the floor to that.
Yeah, I move to open the floor for, for someone to nominate if anyone is interested in being either the chair or vice chair, or has a nomination of someone else. Just make sure you're letting us know which one you're nominating for.
So you made a motion to open the floor?
Yes, yeah, motion to open the floor.
One second.
Sorry, we're learning a new word.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, floor is open for nominations.
Bribery.
I nominate Dietrich for chair.
Vice chair. Vice chair. Vice chair.
I nominate Dietrich vice chair.
I'll nominate Sean for chair.
Okay. So we have two nominations, a chair and a vice chair. Any other nominations? Anybody else want to jump in the ring?
I guess the question is, do you all accept those nominations? Are you all okay with being nominated?
Yes.
For those positions? Okay. We don't want to force that. I mean, obviously, it's based on the fact that no one volunteers, someone is being forced to some degree, but just to make sure you're okay with it.
Yeah.
So you guys say there isn't any contested positions, I believe that we now have. Do we have to vote on that board chair?
I think we would just make a motion to accept the nominations since there are no other nominations, and then we accepted the nominations. So,
It says not necessary, but.
yeah. So I'll, just to make sure the process is clear, I'll make a motion that we accept the nomination of Sean Feline for chair and Peter Shipley as vice chair.
Second.
Alex seconded it. Any discussion before we?
Should we claim?
Any other entrance to the pool?
Yeah, no, I think if you
Oh,
think
no, I
there
don't
needs to be
wanna just-
an additional step to the process.
I think we have.
And then acclamation, I guess. Congratulations.
I know.
I was set up.
Of course, of course. This is your board.
All right. Well, in that case, now we'll go to the approval of the minutes for the July 24th meeting. We hear a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Carl?
I'll second.
I think just went at it, actually. I think the time that it was adjourned was 6:40 maybe. That's like a minor thing, but.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sean is a member of the board, then so I won't be voting on it.
Fair.
You don't have any suggested changes to?
All right, so we have a motion and a second. We have a pending edit for the time 6:40 adjournment. Any other discussion? I think we can accept the minutes pending the time change for the adjournment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are passed. Okay, budget report.
So budget report, this is the second budget of this fiscal year. Right now, we are running year-to-date at, this cannot be the right.
That is different.
Yes, it is. Bear with me for just a moment, please. I believe that this is the correct budget. My apologies on the slideshow. But right now, we are sitting with year-to-date actual of $490,856 in revenue, which is moving along a little bit ahead of pace. We have $137,177 as far as expenses thus far. The details there. I did send this. Did I send this with the packet to everyone?
Yes.
Or is this, okay. As far as expenses go, these are the correct expenses. All of the expenses were previously approved or under contract, and none were over 5,000 that would require a vote. So if there's any questions on the budget, I'd be happy to ask. I will add one other thing. The closeout for fiscal year '24 has not been complete, and thus we don't know what the rollover amount will be from the previous year. So when that comes available, it'll be at the next meeting, I'm sure.
So Veolia and Field Trip, they're both household hazardous waste collection costs. What's the story there?
No, it's coded there because in our old system, we didn't have a way to code it. In our new system, we're gonna be able to fix that, so as it's showing up, it's coming out of where the rollover was. They always put the rollover in the household hazardous materials cost center, so that's where we pulled stuff. We're gonna be fixing that moving forward in our new accounting system, so it's probably the last time that you'll see that there. It'll be a little bit different. And in our older budget, which I can show you on the slide, contractual services, you can see that $3,239,000. That was including the budget plus the rollover amount. So you can kind of see where it's going to go. It's just not in this year's budget. Yeah, it will. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Could you go back to the video?
If there are no questions, we have a motion to approve the budget as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Looks like there's no correspondence to the board. Your action items, we have approval to apply for the Technical Fund grant for litter abatement.
So each year, since I think about 2006, the Waste District has applied for and received grant funding from the Kentucky Thrive Fund. It's a statutory formula grant that once everybody applies in the state, they use a formula of road miles and several other things to calculate how much each community gets. We started off with about $600,000 a year, but now we're down to about $380,000 on average. I don't know if that's, well, I do know that they've changed the formula, but there are also probably more people applying for it. So what this grant does is it gives us the money to be utilized for direct expenses for litter cleanup. And in exchange, we clean the roads of the community at least 3 times according to the grant. We have been utilizing these funds in several different ways, but one of them is probably hugely important, and that is for cleanups on interstates when the state's not cleaning. So the state doesn't clean litter when they're not cutting grass. So you'll notice in the wintertime, if it wasn't for this board and this grant and the Clean Collaborative, there would be no cleanup on state interstates. So that's one of the main things that we use it for. We also use it for funding 6 employees as part of the Clean Collaborative. Metro government funds another 12, and they clean year-round. A lot of people think that we only clean during derby, but they clean year-round, all around the city. We can have people back, Rob, to come back and give a presentation on Clean Collaborative at another meeting, because we can spend a lot of time on litter. But that's what the funding is for. We did use a little bit of it for a litter campaign in the past, but I think we're doing okay. And I think all in all, Metro government spent close to $2 million on litter cleanup in the last calendar year. So it helps. It doesn't fund it fully, but it certainly helps. So what I would ask is that the board would approve the staff to go ahead and make application to the state to be able to get these funds for calendar year 25.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Grant?
I
I think
remember
we
back in the day.
discussed it maybe before the end of the year or something like that. Because I remember us discussing the litter abatement grant. Is
So-
that what this is?
Yes, so probably what you remember is the annual report. So as part of this grant, we have to report all the number of road miles that we cleaned, the number of bags of litter that we picked up, and list any education and stuff like that. So yes, that, all of that is due to the state where we certify these expenses by March 1st. We have a hard time meeting that deadline because Jefferson County is unlike most counties in the state, and we have a lot to do, about to get done, so.
Any further questions?
So do we have any extra funds from past year? So it says the additional funds that's not spent goes back. Do we have any left over from previous year?
No, we do not. We utilize every penny of it.
But it sounds like this kind of lowers the impact of those costs, but it's just a small portion of the total cost. You said about $2 million is
Yes.
for Metro base.
So, yeah, I really think it would be beneficial to have Mr. Lush, who's the city's Clean Collab coordinator. He's here, but we probably don't want to do it tonight. To come back and give an explanation of what the Clean Collab does and all the good work that is taking place to try to prevent litter and to clean up litter.
Right, any other questions? We are going to need a motion to approve the board applying to the Kentucky Farm Fund grant for litter abatement.
Make a motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Each with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion passes. Okay, looks like we're on to new business. We have a special presentation from Feed Louisville.
And I would be able to introduce you, but I don't, I can't.
That's okay, I'll
Oh, it's not a seat.
I will pass.
Sure.
Pass those around.
That's
Hello,
great.
I'm Rana Kamar. I'm the founder and executive director of Feed Louisville. Rachel Rowland is here with me. She's our director of community engagement.
And we're gonna show you a brief video in a minute, but I do wanna say this, that when we started Feed Louisville in March of 2020 as a response to the pandemic, we set out to feed people. That is our main mission, and it still is today. We never expected that there would be this sort of bonus mission, this other part of our work that we would be doing that is having a huge impact on the community, and that's what we call food rescue. I'm sure that all of you have heard that expression. Sometimes I question that expression because we're not literally taking food from the landfill, but we're diverting it. And that is a big part of our work. Our work is at that intersection between food rescue and hunger relief. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Nicole George for connecting us with you. Thank you to Karen and Diane for coming to visit. We have been wanting to connect with you for a long time. We want to partner with you. We're keeping hundreds of thousands of pounds of food out of the landfill every year. We would love to learn from you. I think we have a lot to learn from you. And we would like to share data with you if there's things that we can do on our side to help you to learn or to improve or whatever. We're going to show the video, and then I'll talk to you for just a minute about a little campaign that we're doing.
Beautiful city. There are people who don't know where their next meal is coming from. And at the same time, a caterer just finished an event and has a few pans of leftover pasta they hate to throw away, but don't know what to do with it. Every day in Louisville, thousands of pounds of food that's still edible gets thrown into the landfill. And every day, hundreds of Louisvillians are chronically food insecure. It doesn't have to be this way. We have built the infrastructure at Feed Louisville to take in viable excess food from our network of restaurants, caterers, bakers, grocers, and farmers, and redistribute it to those who need it. Our mission is to reduce hunger while reducing food waste. We vet all of our partners and trust their commitment to safe food handling. Our food rescue partners tell us that they are thankful to have a place to send their still good but overproduced food. No producer wants to see their hard work being wasted. When we bring the rescued food back to our commercial kitchen in Butchertown, everything gets weighed and tracked. We triage every item to determine where the food would have the most impact in the community. The donations range from raw ingredients to ready-to-eat snacks to pantry staples. We are a team of former restaurant chefs who upcycle these ingredients into hundreds of hot and nutrient-dense meals every day. It takes the nimble creativity and safe food handling expertise of a professional chef to repurpose this wild array of food ingredients that come in daily into beautiful, culturally accessible, and hearty meals. We make the menu daily based on what's available, always remembering that this may be the only meal the recipient eats today. We are currently partnered with 12 human service agencies who take our prepared meals and other food resources directly to unhoused people living in encampments or on the streets or at a day shelter like Up for Women and Children, or a housing transition program like the Arthur Street Hotel or Hope Village, or a food pantry like Sister Visitor Center. Our partners tell us that hunger is the most critical barrier their clients must overcome for working on the other issues that they are facing. Food is a way of connecting to others. Food builds community. But most importantly, food is a basic human need. We cannot function without it. Our ability to support our community feeding partners with this most basic resource allows them to focus on meeting the other needs of the people that we feed. The work of Feed Louisville started with an innocent conversation during a chance meeting in a time of uncertainty in March 2020 when the COVID pandemic was beginning to rattle every system in our community. Started with the desire of two people to make sure that folks living on the streets would have access to hot food as soup kitchens shuttered and volunteers went into isolation. It started in a tiny church kitchen and grew into a collaboration between the hospitality industry and local mutual aid activists working in solidarity with the unhoused community. Today, we operate out of an 8,000 square foot kitchen and have a full-time staff of 14 people who are dedicated to continuing that commitment to hunger relief. And we do that by redistributing valuable resources around the community every day. It is our vision to continue to grow in our niche as the go-to for food providers to donate their overproduced food so that we can grow our network of organizations feeding the community daily. We can rescue more food and feed more people. The need is great.
So in November, this November, we will launch a campaign. We are calling it, our working title right now is No Waste, No Hunger. We tend to bring awareness to the work that our network of 100 caterers, restaurants, chefs, farmers, bakers, the work and commitment that they have to, it takes a lot of work for them and commitment to save this food aside, for our team to go pick it up. So we want to bring awareness to that. We want to engage their customers and to bring work to the important, this critical intersection between food waste and hunger relief. And we're asking for your support. We would love for you to be a sponsor and to be a partner in this. I am happy to answer any questions that you have. And thank you for listening and taking time. Questions?
Yeah, so I mean, one, what does sponsorship support look like? And more generally, what is the thing that you all need the most?
So there, in your packet that I gave you, there are tiers for sponsorship. What we are asking for right now, we're sort of engaging potential sponsors so that we can do billboards and branded merchandise. You know, I think you all might remember the No Homelessness campaign that Venture Access did a few years ago. Something like, you know, that sort of thing where everywhere you go into Heine Brothers, you go into Haymarket, you see that, and then the customer, the consumer starts to see that branding and to say, what is this? And then start to ask questions. So that is what we are initially asking
Okay.
for.
So I see a QR code on the.
There, that paper
Right,
right
this
there.
paper here.
Yes, the
Sorry.
paper that.
Oh, it's on the back.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
Did you say how much you divert?
Thank you. Yes, last year we diverted 234,000 pounds of food from going into the landfill. I would say that we did that out of a 500 square foot kitchen over in the Highlands. Last November, we moved into an 8,000 square foot space in Butchertown. And this year, we're very close already this year to exceeding last year's numbers. So we will double that this year. And the space that we're in now, we have the capacity to take in, 500,000 to 1 million pounds of food a year.
Maybe in those materials, which I've seen, how are you funded?
We are funded by the community. Yes, I mean, we have a grant writer who's writing grants. We do have a food service contract with one of our partners that we provide 2 meals a day for the Arthur Street Hotel, but otherwise we are community funded.
Couple of questions, if I could. First off, great video. I mean, that was really well
Thanks
produced.
for that. We
Well,
appreciate
really well
that.
put
It
together.
seems like easier to show than tell, yes.
Absolutely, exactly right. First off, there's some waste, I'm sure, that's developed from this, food waste and whatnot, stuff that you can't distribute and have to be thrown away. Is that diverted from the landfill somehow or another, food waste collection?
That's right, yes. So we track all of our own waste, and we, one of the ways that we're addressing that issue is by partnering with a local pig farmer. So all of the food that we have left over, we send to him. We recently transitioned our composting program to sending the food to him, because pigs are a lot happier. They were just getting bread for a while, now they're getting all the kitchen scraps. So it's, we are very intent. One of the things that we talk about a lot is the presence of professional chefs in our model. It's really critical because they are, we have no menus, we make the menu every day. So the chefs are really intent on using up what's there and being very creative in what we do.
So, what's the name of the organization? Is it Dare to Care on Fern Valley?
Yes.
How do you deal with them?
So we are partners with Dare to Care, and we can pick up from their dock, we pick up from them, produce and things like that. But we also, we're retail partners with them as well. So our team is going out to Publix and Target and Walmart and Kroger every day and picking up all of their food donations. We bring it back to our warehouse and triage it, and we send it back out through our 12 partners. So it never goes to the Dare to Care warehouse at all.
Do you have to pay for any food, or is it all?
No. Now, we do have to buy supplemental ingredients, that is part of our budget, yes. So some of the things that don't get donated, rice, pasta, butter, olive oil. So we're going to Restaurant Depot or Cisco for those kind of things.
So what is your general operating budget now?
Our budget is 1.2 million a year.
So and you currently, through your 12 outlets, you're able to distribute, other than wasted food that can't be recovered, you have an outlet for everything you make.
We do, yes. I mean, we do have,
Sure.
we pay Rumpke and we do have
Yeah.
some general waste.
Oh, absolutely.
But otherwise, we are using everything up.
What about, is there material, food that's given to others other than the unhoused, or does it go to like?
Yes, so, yes, we, about a third of our partners are street outreach workers, so they're going directly into the camps. But the other third of our partners are food pantries, so there's this wide array of ingredients that come in from, if you think about a Target, for example, we pick up from a couple of Targets every week. We'll get things like packaged chicken from them, some canned goods, some Kleenex, just the most random things. All of this would have gone into the landfill if we weren't picking it up. And we will triage those things that come in. We say, can the chefs use this food to make a meal? And then otherwise, it's going to our food pantry partners like Sister Visitor Center or Change Today, Change Tomorrow. And then we also are partnered with 2 housing navigation programs. These are programs where they're bringing people off the streets for an undetermined amount of time to move them through the process of getting rehoused. So we're feeding those partners as well. And then we also work with some day shelters as well. So it's not just going to the street, it's actually going, about 2/3 of our food is actually going to people who are currently housed.
So I assume the so-called ready-to-eat, that's the proper
Yes,
term?
ready-to-eat, yes.
That's primarily going to the unhoused population?
Yes, when we triage every day, we try to get those ingredients out to people on the streets as much as possible. Things that are easy to eat, things that can be stored in a backpack or a tent, yeah.
You guys have a relationship with any media companies yet?
Media companies?
Media or advertising companies, do you have any relationship with?
We don't. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, yeah.
We can change it.
Yeah, good question.
So, what is the geographic distribution of where most of your recipients are?
Mostly West End, South End, and downtown.
Okay.
We're starting to collect a new data point, which I'm really excited about, and we're going to go back and do this through the first of this year. We're gonna start tracking zip codes so that we can see where food resources are coming from and where they're going. So hopefully the next time I see you, I can show you an actual map to show you the redistribution of resources.
From a data standpoint, what kind of data would you be interested in?
Well, the early numbers are definitely, the waste district tracks every pound of waste that's generated in the community, whether it goes to the landfill or it's beneficially used or recycled. And that's how we come up with our diversion number. We want that number to be as high as possible. So, we're gonna want the numbers.
And we
We didn't know
love
that you
numbers.
existed, but.
We love numbers, and I think, again, Deputy Mayor for making this connection. Again, we've wanted to get in front of you for a while because there's just so much, alignment here. And we love data, and what we're not already tracking and what you're interested in, we would love to track. And also, there's a lot of data that we could get from you that would be very helpful.
I'm sorry to keep asking so many
No,
questions.
no, it's great.
Food waste avoidance from the landfill, for composting purposes. Do we have a fair amount of that in town, or how's that dealt with, if at all?
For food waste, typically it's been going to a composter in Indiana that has contracts directly with some of the Krogers and, grocery stores. How much of that is taking place, I can't tell you because some of those numbers can emerge. So I do know that at one point we had what we call the Wet Dry program in the city of Midland, which diverted a lot of food waste from 47 restaurants. But we haven't been able to do that for quite some time, so I'm glad, honestly, that the food is going to people, as much as anything else. I would rather.
Yeah,
go
even
there.
wet, dry, it's still
Right.
wasted food, so it's being put to some beneficial use, but not to.
It's also
not
going
feed
to a
anyone.
food stock.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's
Yeah.
going to food in the end too.
But-
yes.
Brian, the number is low single digits in terms of percentage for food
Yeah.
recovery.
Very much.
So are you saying that we've done a sponsorship similar to this in the past?
We have not. It was part of the Louisville Metro Government Program at the time through our collection system. SWIMS picks up waste 7 days a week in the central business district. This was a way for us to take, instead of having garbage and recycling, we went from wet being 47 restaurants to dry, which everything else went to be processed. So our recovery rate in that program actually went from in the 20% range to almost 85% recovery of all waste that we picked up in the central business district, which was,
And Pete, that was
Astonishing.
part of a Bloomberg grant, right? Was that the?
it began as part
Was,
of.
it started as that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, we've built the infrastructure and a model that works. I mean, our hearts are with hunger relief, you know, we're a bunch of chefs, we like to feed people. This extra bonus of being able to take that food in and keep it from the landfill is also, it means a lot to us. But at the end of the day, this is logistics and distribution, and that's what we do all day long, is just, you know, so it's a replicable model, and it's a scalable model as well. It's gonna take a lot more than just us to do this work.
So, Pete, there's an ask here for a sponsor, just as a more general question, do we as a board have any sort of discretionary budget for making contributions like this, or, I mean, it would be easy for us to say, yes, we would love to do it, but, you know, and we just had a budget report, but like, what pool do we have to work from that's not gonna interfere with
Just to
SWIM's
add,
operations?
just to add on to that before you answer, is there any procurement rules that we have to comply with for something like this?
So what I would tell you is that we've stayed away from sponsorships in the past. But I think that what I need to do, I'm not a procurement person, and I think that we would need to go to them to get the rules and make sure that it's okay. I think that there's a genuine desire by this board to help out.
Yes.
Whether or not we can do it through funding or some other method, I don't know, but we will do our best to get those answers for you.
Yeah, and I think that'll help not just for this, but for
Yes.
other, you know, other asks going forward.
Yeah,
I wonder,
I was just gonna, also ask essentially what Andy was asking, and if there's something in our bylaws or something like that that kind of governs how much we can contribute, you know, to charitable organizations, or if that's even.
It is not, it's not in the bylaws whatsoever. It's,
Okay. Got it. Alex?
yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, I hope we can find a way to support sooner rather than later, but I'm also wondering, just thinking long-term, if there's a way to put organizations like Feed Louisville in our budget. Because I think, you know, in some ways it is a contribution, but also in some ways, like, they're doing some of this work for us, and it's kind of an acknowledgement and recognition, and
And being put on budgets like that enables us to have a financial security,
Yeah.
to be able to, you know, plan for future work, whether that goes into salaries or whatever overhead that we have. It enables us to have the freedom to scale our model and to take on new partners.
And you guys said that you do have a grant writer.
We do. We have a grant writer, we have, Reach, who's our community engagement, we have a fundraiser, we have a staff of 14. We're, you know, we've been doing this for 4 years. And certainly, you know, we're here asking about the campaign, but certainly we want this to be a long-term partnership. We would love to work with you in whatever capacity. Love to see your name on the campaign. I think it would be very meaningful. But certainly, this is a
I
long-term
think-
conversation.
And I think that one of the things that we've really been trying to underscore in our conversations is that we have really sort of, we've kind of come into our own in the last year. We've really been able to fine tune our mission and be able to well articulate that mission to the community. And so really what we're doing right now, although we do of course need, support on every level, these conversations are really meant for education as much as support. So that means that you guys now know we're here and that we're doing this work, which you probably did not know. And so it's very critical that we have these conversations with, schools, government agencies, corporations that have volunteer matching, even just individuals that want to come in and volunteer. So really that's kind of the crux of our work right now, is to really expand, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this campaign, is to really, educate the community of the work that we're doing, how powerful it is. And to Rana's point, it's very scalable, and so there's really no end. We just need, the more support we have, the bigger we can make this.
So I think that it would maybe be a little bit easier to get it, both from a budgetary and a political standpoint, get it passed if we could show how it's maybe we're partnering to create more exposure to like the no waste program or something like that supports our objectives as a group. So I mean, it sounds like it's probably something that takes a little bit of research
Sure.
from just a legal standpoint and all that. Do you have an amount that you're asking for?
Well, we budgeted $15,000 for the total campaign. We're certainly not asking you for all of that. We've had some other donors that have already contributed. So, that's where we're at as far as the total cost of it, yes.
This might be somewhat of an unfair question, but do you guys have like a budget target, like 1.2 is your operating, like say, man, our goal is to get to 1.5 or 1.4, is there a budget like that you guys have, or are you just kind of looking at?
Like a
specific
projected,
things you do?
like something like projected budget. I don't think that really.
Our budget will increase
Yeah.
as we increase. Right now, we're at a really good place where we're having huge impact, and we are growing very strategically. So our biggest expense, our fixed costs are pretty much the same right now. Overhead, it will increase incrementally depending on how many meals we're producing every year. But we know that in the new space we're in, we have the capacity. We're making 800 meals a day right now, and taking in thousands of pounds of food a day. But in this new space, we have a capacity to do 5,000 meals a day. We will do that very incrementally and increase that budget as we increase partnerships and need more staff. And the main expense for us right now, in able to scale, is going to be staff.
And the reason why I was asking is, in some cases, like corporate for support, like they want to get you there, they want to win. So they'll say, if your budget is 1.5, like let's go with 1.5. Let's not do 15 and 20, but they also want to know like what we're going to do with 1.5. So if you go from 1.2 to 1.5, tell me what we get at 1.5.
Yeah, we can definitely, we can
So
certainly
I'm just
project.
wondering if you guys have a
Yeah.
projected budget like that, say,
Sure,
hey,
of course.
if we had 1.5, now we're feeding 5,000 people
Yeah.
today, we're doing whatever.
Yeah, we can extrapolate that from our
We
current data.
don't currently have the data on that, but we are working with a strategist to look at the future. That is, very good point.
So do we have a target number, is it like 1,000, is it 5,000? What's the
We
sponsorship?
were hoping that you would sponsor with 5,000, if that's within the budget, but, it's.
I think we should make a motion to table the discussion.
We can. What I would ask is, can you guys send us a letter on letterhead requesting that? That would help me, I think, in the purchasing process. I know that for a fact, but I'm trying to get ahead of things.
Yeah.
If we want to make an intent to make this donation, pending approvals through the budgetary process, we can possibly go ahead and get it done, or we could table it until the next meeting. Regardless, what I would say is that we need to partner where we can, and, you know, we're outside of that. So the education team, no waste, I think it was a really good point. We want to make sure that we're utilizing and getting the word out on what you're doing as much as possible. That only helps us all.
Thanks, we appreciate it. We appreciate your time tonight. That was way over 7 minutes. So.
Yes,
Good job. Well worth it.
And of course, reach out anytime, and I will send you that letter.
And just to underscore, we're really looking forward to this being a long-term relationship, so even if, you know, as we're working through the you know, fine tuning the process of procuring funding or whatever, if it doesn't work out, this is, you know, this is a longer conversation, now that you know that we're doing this work, to be able to have your community
I don't think this is appropriate.
You should have waited until after.
All right, thank you. My suggestion would be to make a motion to table until our next meeting. We can hopefully have the letter from them, any answers from legal and procurement and all that. Sure. You know, we can make that determination.
Yeah, and I would, is there any way to make the motion to be a little bit broader, to just sort of investigate what this process would look like generally? So it's not just for fee movable, but then when we get an answer, we'll have it for, you know, for this specifically, but that way if we get another request, we'll have that process in place.
Or possibly send something of a request to the advisory committee for investigation of the issues, whatnot, while we have it on the table. Because you can't make a motion to table and ask something at
Sure,
the same time.
yeah.
I'm not sure that the advisory committee has a task at this point. The investigation and seeing what we're gonna do, and that's basically gonna be on staff.
Yeah,
Through,
I think it would push it back to staff regardless.
I believe that, you know, once we get on board, I think maybe there's an initiative there that we can use the advisory committee to kind of research to see how we can magnify the effects of it.
I'd also really quickly like to invite any of you guys to come to the kitchen. If ever you're interested in wanting to see the operation, please reach out. We're in Butchertown. To see it is really impressive. It's a well-oiled machine, and you can really kind of get a true sense of the work that we're doing. So please reach out if it's at all interesting or relevant to, you know, please, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so a motion to investigate the process, including legal, for sponsorships or contributions to outside organizations.
Yes, I think that would cover it for me.
All right, so we want to make that motion?
I'll move.
Second? Second. All right, any further discussion?
I'll just add, I'm sitting here thinking, as someone else who also works in like the food space, and he's worked with Feed Louisville some in the past. I know there are also some other organizations that are doing food waste reduction, and I think it could be cool for us to think big picture with this too. Like she mentioned, change today, change tomorrow. I know it's something that they're starting some new initiatives around too. And it could be interesting to kind of look at the big picture here and like how we might support the whole community effort to, I
Just
just
cover
really
your ears on this
respected.
one. I think that might be a good task for the advisory committee, just to investigate, you know, like identifying some of the partners, well, identifying some of the partners that exist already that we can, you know. I said covered.
Right, any further questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Let's go to new business item number 2, Kentucky 5-year solid waste management plan development conference.
So, we were, the Kentucky Division of Waste Management, the Recycling and Local Assistance Branch reached out to us in this past month. Unbeknownst to us, the state has not updated its 5-year solid waste management plan in a long time. So they are embarking on a process to do so. We're trying to help them find meeting space, but what we do know is that there will be 15 sessions across the state. We will have our own. They talked sometime in October. They gave us 3 dates, I think, the 2nd, 16th, and the 29th. These would be 4-hour sessions. We really need one of the biggest reasons why bringing this up tonight is to get the word out. Louisville needs to be represented well in this process so that our voices can be heard as much as the rest of the state. So they gave us a list of different people. You guys can see that. I don't need to read that. But please spread the word in your organizations, and let's see if we can't get as many people to attend this and participate, because it is a very important endeavor for the state. Any questions on that?
They have ours, right? Our 5-year-old.
Yes, that's required to be submitted.
And all the other counties are.
Yeah.
Do we need to have representation from this board at those meetings?
I would say as many people, we can have an official representative, or anybody can come as part of what they do. I think there's organizations here or businesses here that would certainly be interested in representing themselves. So, yeah, however y'all want to do that.
How much of ours, the counties, will be used to copy for the Commonwealth's 5-year plan?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure their format, if it's even the same as for a county. But I'm assuming the same process would follow, and that is, describing the system, looking for strengths and weaknesses, and then coming with action plans to address those over a certain amount of time. That's generally the way a 5-year process works.
Pete, it mentions at the bottom, 2 hours for presentations by recycling and local assistant staff. Have they reached out to Public Works or SWIMS to ask for any sort of presentation from you all?
They have not asked for a presentation from us, and I believe that they are running with this as fast as they can, but I don't think that their planning is quite caught up. Would you agree with that, Karen?
Yes.
Didn't mean to put you on spot.
Sorry.
So I just don't think that they're that far along, or if they are, they're not telling us yet.
Anybody want to volunteer for one of those meeting times?
I mean, I will probably be representing WM there, so I think I could also represent the board, but we want to make sure that there's somebody else from the board, so that there's not a conflict of the multiple directions if there's a conflict.
I'm retired, I can come again.
There you go. So, I don't think it matters at this point what the day is, that like the 3 days that are booked, that's what they've narrowed it down to, or they're going to be 3 separate meetings?
That I can't answer.
Okay.
It's really kind of unclear to me how they're going to run this process.
So if we book 3 days, it's 4 total hours, but, okay.
We hope to know.
Yeah, I think just let us know, and then we can coordinate if, if there are multiple days, we can figure out if I'm booked a day or.
I'm not available the second, the other two are fine.
Sure.
I'd be interested in going. We'll send Andy as a double agent.
You tried what you said.
Probably the 29th.
Do we have anything else on that? I could probably do the second. I'll just have to get back to you on, based on whatever time it was.
That's the only one.
Once we get a little bit better schedule or agenda, we'll send that out. I know it's kind of hard to make decisions based upon not a lot of information at this point yet, but as soon as we know something more, we'll let you know.
All right. Looks like we're ready, if we don't have any other questions on that, to move to old business. We have an update on the host agreement committee with Tom Fitzgerald.
So Tom was not able to make it in person tonight, so I worked with him on trying to come up with some bullet points, just to give you guys a little bit of information. There's more work to do. So Tom is an attorney with the Kentucky Resource Council. He has worked through host agreements across the state. He's really an environmental attorney, not just host agreements, but anything environmental within the state. He also advocates nationally as well, so he's well respected in that regard. So he has went back and looked at our process from the start. Now, he was originally part of that host agreement process that we originally did, and I think it was '94. There has been 4 amendments since, so he has kind of went back and looked at everything. So right now, you know, there's between 42 and 46 years remaining of capacity.
I'm not gonna make it to either of those two.
Yeah. The last significant expansion was in 2000, and I believe that was when the capacity was agreed upon between the Waste District. The language that we have used in the 5-year plan is unclear. I believe that maybe we got a little bit of bad advice from the state, but Tom told me that that's very common across the state and something that they're trying to address across the state so that everybody understands what this process should look like within the 5-year solid waste management.
Well, to be fair, this is the same state that doesn't currently have a 5-year solid waste plan. They're required to, so that makes sense. I think, and just to clarify, I think part of the confusion there is there was like a rate of fill that was, and full disclosure, I mean, I work for WM, the host agreement was with WM. There was mentioned in previous solid waste plans, and I think it's continued on into this one, permitted capacity is listed as what the projected rate of fill is rather than the remaining capacity, or the remaining authorized capacity. That was what it seemed like in the memo. But
So, well, that's why I was hoping Tom
Yeah,
could be here,
yeah.
so you can explain it a little bit better. The last major topic there was that he pointed out that the Waste District does not impose the full 6.25% on out-of-county waste that would come into Louisville. So that was one of the things that is an option for us. Those funds can be used for general operating expenditures, but, you know, one of the things that if we did do something like that, I would hope that we could dedicate that to the litter that comes in from interstates that we struggle with every day. So, but it's one of those things to consider. The next slide kind of goes through the amendments. Sorry. And I won't go through each one of these. But what I will say is, there were several things that happened. Number one, I remember the process where it was talked about as far as renewing. I know that there was a draft that was created. I believe that it never came to fruition for whatever reason, although I cannot be sure. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to look for, is if there was some kind of an agreement that was made. I just haven't found it, but I don't believe that there was an agreement on that, so.
yeah, and Pete, I'll just say, I think there's correspondence with Pete Irvin that, I don't know if Pete's still around or available, but from 2016, that I can send you also. I think that what Metro was saying, this is expired, this is at least agreed upon that it's expired, but I don't know if that adds additional clarification.
Well, I think that there, at a certain point, there was an issue with the Fourth Amendment and whether or not that we can measure success. So, I think that there were questions. I think that there was license fee things, and I think all that tied in together, and that's when it didn't get done. So, trying to get back to having a host agreement. It's an important document for the city, and hopefully we can do that. I know that WM has agreed to talk to us about that. So I think we have a willing partner to at least have a discussion. So hopefully we can do it.
I would say that I agree. I would agree with her.
Just a clarification, third amendment says August 2000, and then the fourth amendment says March of 1994, or something I see.
It was 2004 was actually the
Fourth
end of the
Amendment?
Fourth Amendment, yeah.
March 2000.
Yeah, 2004 was the fourth.
Interesting. Was that the way, same way that you had it in his memo?
Yeah, it is. I think it was just
Okay.
like
Yeah, copy that.
yeah, like the Fourth Amendment, the original host agreement is from March of 1994. We're, yeah, so it's, yeah, the Second Amendment was 99. I
So,
believe.
I will
so.
say, I sent the memo, but there's already been another update to it. I think that there's been 4. I will send that latest one in the next day or so, but it was just too late to send another draft of it to you guys. It's great reading too. So, anyway, the potential actions that we can have here is to amend the 5-year plan to clarify our capacity, research whether or not that there was an extension request and where that sits, and then to consider imposing the additional 1.25% to take to 6.25 the gross receipts for out-of-county waste. There's waste that comes from, I believe, Andy, correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but at least 96 other counties into the W County landfill.
Yeah, so I know that and we are still adhering to the Fourth Amendment there listed the counties that WM could accept waste at the outer loop landfill, which were agreed upon between WM and the city. I believe that we are still adhering to that. I would have to double check, but we're still operating effectively in the same footprint. So there are counties that, you know, the outside of Jefferson that the material is coming from. I think 2022 is the last year that I looked at when I saw the memo. I think, you know, including Shelby, Oldham, Bullitt, like immediate surrounding counties, which is a vast majority of the waste, it was, I think, 29% of the waste that was coming out was from outside of Jefferson County.
So there is a committee that's with the advisory committee that is working on the host agreement. Bob Schindler, Sarah Lynn Cunningham, and Bruce Bloom. So as we work with Tom and get a little bit more clarity on where we're going, we'll come back to the board and keep you guys up to date.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I'm sorry, do you know, like, are you gonna try to reschedule with Tom, or do you not know yet? It was that, or did he just say?
Well, after he sent the latest memo,
Okay.
I need to take a look at that.
Sure.
With Bob and see where we need to go ahead and get together with him again. Right now, we don't have a set date for
Okay.
meeting with him.
So, we don't have any actions that we need to take
No, sir.
right now. The 1.25% increase would be, what is that, maybe 25% increase on that fee? Right? And is that the 5% fee, is that the same, is the 5% fee charged to like local?
So,
county
the-
waste haulers?
Yeah.
So
Everything is at 5% right now, 5% of gross receipts.
Yeah.
This would only raise it 1.25% for
Out of county,
out-of-county.
it's 5% for landfills and 2% for transfer stations. Okay.
So that's where the multi-million dollars in revenues come from primarily, right?
That is correct. It's on disposal. I guess not to be, but in the past, the way that they kind of fund the waste district is mostly on disposal. Any recyclers that also license and haulers, composters are at a set $100 fee. So it's, you know, that's recovery, so there's not much burden on the recovery side, it's more on the disposal side. Sorry.
I mean, well, especially we have a $3.2 million rollover roughly. then I guess the question would be, what are we gonna do with this fund?
So-
That's a kind of rhetorical question.
Well, there's probably several things that are in the 5-year plan that aren't funded. in fact.
There is, the 5-year solid waste management plan has a financial section that looks at what we're gonna do with it. Some of those things is to revamp our, full-service recycling centers. And, they need it, and, hopefully expand it to accept, additional materials. Things have changed, so, a significant amount of money was to there. Some of that money was gonna be dedicated to, some consultants, cost of services, study that we'll talk a little bit about in just a few minutes, but also for, campaigns, the development of campaigns, that we're gonna run, so. We have kind of lagged behind a little bit, but what I will also say is that since the 5-year solid waste management plan, the amount of money coming in has also increased. As tipping fees have increased, WM's cost has increased, so that also has increased the amount of money coming through that gross receipts. So we are getting money very quickly.
Any further discussion on that? All right, let's go to the anti-litter marketing campaign updates.
So we have.
We have Jane.
Jane. Jane from Field Trip. You've heard us talk about this quite a few times, but Jane from Field Trip was gracious enough to come talk to us about the final report for this campaign. So I do have that right here. So Jane, do you want to come up and introduce yourself? And I can move the slides as you tell me to.
Okay, I just punch you when it's time to turn to the next slide. Okay, so, well, and to all of you, a little credit, the slide before, the screen before showed a nice little silver mint julep cup. So that was a American Advertising Federation award that the campaign received, and you know, an agency alone does not create the work, so yeah, so congratulations. Okay, so would you, this is like showing kind of weird, so would you mind, is there a view button?
No, unless I can,
We'll just make it.
it came into the PDF.
Keep going, sorry. I think it might say full page.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, so how many minutes do I have? Like 2? Negative 20. All right, I got that. I can do that. That's about my speed. So again, my name is Jane Pfeiffer. I'm founder and president of Field Trip. And Field Trip is a marketing agency. We help purpose-driven organizations close the gap between the people they help and the people who can support them in what they do. Interestingly enough, for solid waste, those audiences are the same people. If we talk about Feed America, the people that they're helping, the unhoused, is very different from the people who are either, you know, releasing food to them or funding them. But our unique challenge here is that the people that benefit from our services are the exact same ones that we need their help with. Not necessarily with funding, but to take care of what's there so that we can do our job. So, go ahead, Pete. Ding. You can just get the next one. So we're just gonna walk you through the most recent campaign, and to kind of give a little bit of background about how the campaign came to being, is we look through, you know, the lens of a couple different things. So first is, you know, how do we create behavior change? We need to create a desire to do better, be better, and then when it comes to the environment, one of the things that we have to face is, especially when it comes to litter, is it's not me, it's you or you. Everybody tends to just point the finger and think that I do it the way it's supposed to do, don't look here. And then audiences, how do we inspire, residents to change their habits? Not necessarily because we ask them to, because they really probably don't feel much obligation to us, but because they want their neighborhood to be better. So for audiences, we tend to look at things a little differently. We look through the lens of attitudes. So we could look at, East End, West End, or, homeowner versus renter. And instead what we look at are what are the attitudes when it comes to litter and, solid waste. And so, the first is our dream audience, right? Our dream client, because they get it. We just need to make sure that they're informed with the how to, where to, and what to. They'll take care of the rest. Unfortunately, the entire world is not like that. And so where we have to influence is the people that believe in the status quo. There's not a reason to change, nothing needs to be different. I would never throw something out of the car window, but I'm not gonna take the time to figure out why I can't put this aerosol can in my garbage, right? And then even the skeptical. I don't see how I can make a difference. Have you driven by that landfill? I mean, that's, what am I gonna do to make a difference there? And so, how do we shift those people closer to being more cooperative? So measurables, we always wanna start there first. And ideally, what we want to do is track this all the way back to complaints, because that speaks volumes, literally and figuratively. And that's a partnership. Next
Yes.
slide. Yeah, you want to speak to that?
Well, I will, once you're done with your presentation, to give some metrics, but also an opportunity, so. I'll let you do it.
So, measurement and accountability is a shared responsibility. We, Field Trip, can own the accountability of awareness. How many people did we reach? And then what were the signs that they were listening and really absorbed that content? And then, in terms of what actually happened, that's where we're looking at, the Metro 311 complaints. So the creative, we look at messaging in what we call ERT, so emotional, rational, and tactical. It's very tempting to kind of explain what we do and why it's important, but we wanted to lead with why keeping our city clean really requires all of us. And then, then move to what that really means, and then how it's done. So Clean Together was the campaign theme. Media, we looked at the entire Louisville Metro, but really emphasized some of the areas in these specific zip codes where we could have the greatest impact. From a demographic standpoint, we looked at really all adults with a little bit more concentration on adults 18 to 45. And then when we think about media, we think about this kind of process that people go through. In reality, it's not as clean as this. It's more like a mess of spaghetti as people move in and out. They think about us, they forget about us, and move back in. But the messages and the media that they might be consuming at any phase is different. And so to show an example of that, I'm ahead of myself. We also created the landing page for the campaign so that it would be consistent with the information that we were putting out. Just two screenshots.
Am I getting too far?
No, you're good.
Okay.
I mean, we're running, but it's good. So out of home, if you think about that funnel, if we're gonna share awareness, that's where we have to interrupt people in their spaces and places. They're not looking for us, they're not thinking about us, so we have to interrupt them, and that's what these media did. So 29 million impressions. Next. Then as we come down a little bit, they've heard about us and now they're wanting to learn. They might click on this video. Our star, Troy, right? I think it is. And so learn more about what are we talking about? What does it mean when we clean together? And then digital display, so online, targeting people with, creative that just said keeping it clean is a shared goal. We have to work together. Social media, we used, here's where we kind of leaned into the personalities, because what happens when you have a really good product and service and it's solid waste? People think that it's magic. And they don't think about waste, right? Because it just happens. And so what we had to do was put a face to that magic. These are not wizards. They're not there to pick up your stuff. Use your own S word. So, let's help them out, and in turn their job becomes easier and we all look a little better. So, all together, 33 million impressions. What that means is eyeballs. So, but each time somebody saw it, that's counted as an impression. So if I saw it 10 times, I'm counted 10 times. And then we had 10,000 visits to the campaign landing page. They really wouldn't have got there any other way. And what we would love to do is bring this full circle and talk about, and here's the direct impact. I'm gonna look at Pete for that. But I guess before I turn it over, Pete, are there any questions or, any questions?
Do we have any other metrics kind of providing either research or corroboration to the campaign? Or even like maybe comparing to another time where we had a different campaign?
Well, more generally, in terms of when we were deciding on the strategy, doing research in terms of other markets and other litter campaigns and outcomes that they had to try and, eliminate, we don't have to start from scratch. But unfortunately, we're kind of at this place where it's difficult to specifically report, here's the direct impact.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it seems like litter issue calls would be an intuitive lag indicator for litter presence.
Right.
So I can't speak to that, if that's okay. So what you see on the screen is Metro 311 litter issue calls. What I would tell you is you have to keep in mind that it does not segregate into the individual types of things. It's litter issues. So it could be a overflowing litter basket or somebody wanting a litter basket. It could be that there's litter on the side of the road. It could also be something like there's been auto accident debris, which is a big problem for us. So this data isn't all, it's there, but I don't know that it is totally reliable to tell us how we're doing. What it does show that there are less that are taking place, which overall, that's a good thing. So I do have another thing to talk about, unless there's other questions.
I have one other question on this. Is there a way that we can drill down into those particular zip codes and extrapolate how many calls we had previously versus during this measurement period?
I think we can. I know
That-
Rob's
that
been
would-
working on pulling that so that we can kind of see what's going on. Unfortunately, we have to open up each and every one to get to the details as to what it actually is. So it's gonna take a long time to do, for us to complete that. Rob, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, so I'm going through right now, I think there's 900 something that I gotta go through and pull out. Like Pete said, sometimes when people are calling about a complaint, if they see something that's been illegally done, they call it as litter. If they see an overflowing litter basket or one place or a liner's missing, they call it in as roadside litter. So that's what I'm having to do is go through and pull all of those out and try to segregate what actually is complaints about roadside litter, try to figure that out. But as Pete said, it's unfortunate, you have to go into each and every single one of them, see what that call was, and separate it out.
But I do think it's a good point, and I don't know where you're at on it, but if we can do something to kind of show the zip codes that we're having. the
Yeah,
issue.
it's got zip codes, so we'll
Okay,
have that as
good.
well.
I think the initial marketing campaign here is a good start, including the employees. You're throwing garbage on the ground, litter on the ground. These are the people that have to go clean it up, so I think it's a really nice start. what are the next steps in the campaign from the standpoint of some of the action steps potentially that the residents could take regarding this campaign?
So let me make sure I understand your question. So from an awareness and kind of, showing how to, what happens next in a future campaign, or what happens next at a community engagement level?
Community engagement level.
Okay. Karen, I don't know
That
if you.
would be us, I guess. I mean, the landing page has links, we got a lot of people to the landing page. I don't know how far they went from there. But it leads for litter. We find that a lot of people just aren't using their services properly. So we're really, for this campaign, trying to direct people to their services at that point, making a large item appointment, or contacting your hauler if you have a separate hauler. Getting your garbage cart repaired if it's broken, that kind of thing. So we do hope to do more campaigns, and they can evolve. We've focused on awareness, I think, because to kind of get our images out there and kind of brand it in a way so that when people start seeing it, I feel that it's something we have to keep doing. But we have, last year's was It Adds Up, and then this year's the Clean Together. So we will continue to use these images, videos, in our social media. If we do community engagement, talk to neighborhood meetings or whatever, we have some great graphics and things that kind of go along with our message of keeping Louisville clean. So we just kind of have to keep going, I guess.
And I'll say too, we're not the only one that's gonna have like a call to action type thing. Bright Side's also working to rebrand themselves. And as part of that, they're trying to have more focus on cleanliness, so that might also be a positive.
Good to hear.
I want to say congratulations on the award.
Oh, thanks, Carl.
And what's next?
Yeah, from a campaign perspective, we recommend that we keep, the Clean Together and stay with the same campaign. It's by no means is it worn out. And as we do that, there's just more efficiency with the media. And that's really what we need, is just continue to repeat the message.
As the board goes, after we've had this one, we look at how we've done. I think at this point, we need to look forward and see where we want to go as a board. And, I think that there's been the theme that we have to keep going, because you don't change the culture in a city in 2 campaigns.
Right.
It's going to take multiple campaigns over multiple years for us to kind of turn this thing around. But I think that the ideas that we have are good. Everybody has garbage collection. Pretty much everybody has recycling, yard waste, large item collection. The system is there for people, for the city to be clean. We just have to get people to use it, which is not as easy as what you would think.
Maybe, focusing in the future, you kind of hinted at almost like a customer journey or funnel, which goes into like upside down funnel, and then you have like, eventually you have evangelists, aiming toward that, getting kind of a group or a growing group of evangelists, because then they have kind of a radius of impact. I think that might be something that we consider in our future campaign discussions.
Awesome.
Any other feedback?
Thanks for the time.
I do have a couple extra slides that I threw in today, which is exciting. We are looking to pilot a program called City Detect. And the City Detect has piloted in the city of Atlanta. And it's basically taken cameras that are already in existence on fire trucks, ambulances, garbage trucks, although we haven't gotten it on the garbage trucks yet, but vehicles that are driving with cameras. And through a artificial intelligence algorithm, it's able to pull out the instances of certain things that it sees along the way. in Atlanta, you can see the point here is it picked up 886,000 pieces of litter on its, in the algorithm. I don't know what time frame. 14,000 pieces of graffiti, 12,000 pieces of debris, 2,000 debris piles, a lot. It picks up a lot.
And that was 3 months.
It was a 3 month?
On the top, it says a
Okay.
summary of a 3-month pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's astonishing. But what's really significant here is, it's taking images of that so that we can see it. So it's not just us that's looking at this. It actually is coming from the city's code and regulations department as a way for them to magnify their effect, to be able to see things and potentially be able to get to them sooner, potentially without even going to the site, because now they have evidence and pictures and stuff. So it will also tell us where we have the issues. And so it will do heat maps, which would be extremely helpful for us. And, one of the things that we can't do is measure our impact on litter campaigns. So we hope that this would be something that works out for the city of Louisville. I bring it here today because this has been a challenge, and I hope that this board would support the funding of this. I know it's probably about $90,000 a year. I'm not asking for this, the waste district to fund it all, but maybe a piece of it. Because we are using it for our benefit as well as all the other departments. So I think it's a really exciting piece of technology, and more to come. Hopefully we'll get a pilot before too long, and we're gonna see some of the results of it, and then we can make an informed decision on whether or not we want to move forward with something. So I thought it was the perfect segment to bring this up to you guys.
Well, yeah, because to your point, measuring the impact, kind of a historical impact of before and after, during a campaign, or any other effort that we have out in the community, I think that seems like an interesting endeavor.
Maybe,
Okay. I love the idea on multiple levels, data on multiple levels, really. I hate the name, City Detect. That sounds so beautiful.
I can talk to them about it.
That is a horrid name. Big government, that really is awful.
Well, that's the name of the company. So
Well, we could call it whatever we want.
yeah, I would say
Or
so.
codes and regulations, or whatever we want, but not that, that's wrong.
I will let that be known.
That's our big brother.
Yeah.
So I was gonna just add that that's awesome. Maybe we can even have like a group that just looks at technology. I mean, that's what we. So I talked to Pete and Karen a while back about possibly us exploring different types of technology, and this is a perfect example. We don't know what type of technology is out there, and it'd be great if there was a group that we could put together and just explore and bring those type of opportunities back for everyone to hear about what's possible, right, and what we can improve. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just want to add, I think this will be great, especially, I know in our district, urban services district, we do have a lot of dumping, and the campaigns are out there, I'm not saying that they're not, but a lot of people don't want to wait, so they'll just dump a couch or dump a refrigerator. So maybe sometimes these fire trucks are going by, they can see those, the cameras can show that, because we still have a lot of large item dumping in our area.
Yes.
How would this relate to, let's say, 311 or some of the other programs that are out there already?
I think it's a supplement to that, and 311 is more of a citizen portal to let us know where things are happening. This just gives us a better look at it, but I don't think that it's going to cover everything that's needed, because it's only going to go where the trucks are going. So you still have to have that system, where the citizens can call in and tell us what's going on, what's on their mind.
So, to that point, that it's only gonna go where the trucks are going, we just have to make sure that we're able to deploy that, you know, across Louisville Metro. And of course, we're gonna have certain pockets, you're just saying the urban services district still has an issue with illegal dumping. But, you know, we just wanna make sure that we are deploying these resources kind of across Jefferson County, you know, to be a benefit to the whole of it.
Right, it will be a challenge to deploy everywhere that we could possibly deploy. The one thing that we have to have is an active camera. And if there's an active camera and there can be an interface between this program and that camera, then I think that you can do it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a program that you load in, if you have an active camera, then you can access it?
I'm not the technology.
Right.
So, there's a lot for us to learn still, and that's why we're gonna do it.
If that's part of it, and there's a possibility we could partner with other entities that have cameras, police department, Uber drivers, things like that, that's possible, that could be the case.
Yeah, I do know all codes and regulations, vehicles would be part of that. So you have, I don't know, 50 something of those that are spread out all across the city. So, you know, there's lots of opportunities. It's just a matter of, will it work for our community?
Meaning and stuff like accident debris, which I know we've talked about.
Yeah, you know, and it's good to know about all this stuff, but you also have to have the ability to interdict the problem. And sometimes, yeah, we know that there's 800,000 pieces of litter, but we know that we can't go out and pick up 800,000 pieces of litter in one day. But it will tell us where we can direct our resources more effectively.
Well, certainly, in my humble opinion, and I apologize for making a sermon here, but we could do a lot better from a street sweeping standpoint in Metro. We're nowhere near where we need to be from a level of service standpoint. And I'm not saying SWIMS or anybody else is wrong, it's just that the resources just aren't there to deal with. We're sweeping, I mean, one of my previous jobs, we were sweeping 15 times a year in each of the core neighborhoods of the city. We're doing what, 3 times a year?
3 times a year. 3 times a year, and we're barely able to do that.
Right.
We're challenged, we're challenged in a lot of ways when it comes to street sweeping. Equipment that, we can't create a longer term schedule more than 24 hours in advance, because we're not sure that we're gonna have the equipment to do it. We have none, that are outside of the shop area. Look, they are used hard in
Yes.
this community. If you sweep 3 times a year, there's never an opportunity for it to sweep a little bit of stuff. It's sweeping a lot of stuff, which is part of the issue with maintenance on it.
Okay, so we don't have any action items on that right now. All right, any further feedback or discussion on that?
Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay.
All right, we're at, just almost 7 o'clock, so let's, get through these next few here.
Okay.
We have a update on the cost of service study contract.
Yes, the contract is not, ink's not dry on it yet, but the intent is to award it to a company called Graf Chellis, financial consultants. They've done a lot of work across the country. Our team that looked at this, we feel like that between the other vendor and this vendor, both of them were gonna do a very good job. This one is significantly cheaper, and that is the reason that we have decided to go with it. The one thing that I'm not exactly happy with in this is the timeline on this being so long. And I feel like that once we get into the kickoff meeting that we'll be able to pare this down quite a bit and make this a little bit shorter process. But it's 12 months, which is more than what I thought that it would be, had mentioned. But, you know, we'll continue with our team, and we have a lot of data asks that they're gonna make. There's a lot of GIS layer work that has to be done. So there's a significant amount of work to be there before we can even start doing surveys. But I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that, because it's something that has been a goal in the 5-year Solid Waste Management Plan that we've been trying to get done for quite some time. So we're almost to the starting point on being able to actually do it.
Pete, are you able to let us know how much what the actual bid price was on that? You said that this one is much cheaper than the other.
I believe it was 183. I do know that during the discussions, they had offered extra stuff, which makes me believe the timeline. But in the discussions, they seem to think that they could probably drop that down even a little bit more, which is great.
So I think last meeting, we were talking about a change to the scope to get the cost below 50,000.
That is on the capture rate study, which is a little bit
Okay.
different.
That's right, it was combined.
Oh, yeah, it was, which was a mistake on my part. I will say, on the capture rate study, I believe that the vendor that made that bid, maybe lost a little. I know that they, was awarded a major contract from the state of New York. And this may be not big enough potatoes for them. So, we've asked them again to give us the scope. I think, Alan, our procurement person, said something to them, on Monday, asking them to get this to us so that we can move forward, so.
So we just have one vendor that's bidding?
For the capture rate
For the
study,
capture rate
that is
study.
correct, that is correct. This had two.
All right, and then last thing, I think I'd asked last meeting if we would have, if the board would have say on kind of a final decision or whatnot for this. I know it sounds like we're working on a contract with
Yes,
them.
I did not get an answer from that one. My apologies.
So it sounds like we don't have any action items for this at this moment. Okay, let's go to the Resource Recycling Conference update.
So just a reminder, because we want people to go. We did have a sign up. I think it ended up, Karen, I think it was 9 people.
I don't have the list, I didn't think of that, but if you told me you wanted to go, I signed you up already, and there is still opportunities. A few people were nervous about committing to it. It was just a $50 discount early, but by all means, we can still sign you up if you did not. It was advisory committee and board members that we were offering that to.
It was like November something, right?
13th through 15th.
Yep.
Yeah, so I hope that I put this on there, hoping that the agenda was out. And the agenda still is not out for that, so, more to come. I think once we get the agenda, people will see where they want to fit and whether or not they want to attend, so just wait on it.
Then we can also see which items would, deliver the most value for the board, for our
Sessions.
Perfect. All right, anything else on the conference? Any questions? Okay, let's move to the advisory committee report.
Evening, everyone. Apologize for not standing. We have actually reviewed, the committee to review the RFP notes. We have the cost services study, the capture rate study. Those are the 2 big things that the advisory committee is working on prior to the reconstitution of the board. So we're at your mercy, we're looking for something to do moving forward. One thing I wanted to comment on, I don't want to drag this out. I was watching news the other night and I saw MSD cleaning out catch basins. And what goes in the catch basins? Litter. So our litter numbers that we capture on the street, I think we ought to double that for the available litter cleanup. Because we can always collaborate with MSD, get the amount of material they're recovering out of their storm drains. Yeah, and that's the litter cleanup that we're providing.
It's interesting. I know that we typically have reported the amount of tons cleaned, and they use that for MS4 reports on the effectiveness and how much stuff is coming. I've never seen an MS4 report. I wouldn't know it if I saw it. But I think it's a good point. We do get some data from MSD, but that could potentially be another one. I don't know if they track it, but we can see.
Versus organic versus inorganic material.
Typically, when it comes to road debris, the state considers it to be 25% litter.
I was thinking probably 20% or so.
Right. So I think even if they have just a total tons, you can say 25% of that was litter that has been captured.
It just touched on me when they were talking about the odors coming from storm sewers and whatnot. And obviously, material that is decomposing, creating methane gas. So, I mean, it's basically a wash off the street. And whether it's, I'm sure there's a lot of inorganics in there as well. Yeah. Anyhow, Karen has done some wonderful work. I would like her to address with a informative card with regard to recycling. Karen?
Yes, so on the screen, that's a front and back of a 6x9 card. The idea is to have those delivered for any new recyclers with any hauler or City of Shively or Metro, and adding, it's a similar info card that we've been using ever since we did that CART grant, but changing it up to be saying, let's recycle together, no matter who's collecting, here's what you should do, and help people of Louisville understand that it's gonna be the same. You know, there's a lot of confusion with inconsistent messaging, and that's what we've been trying to address with the advisory committee. And having the haulers and facilities on the committee, you know, is beneficial because they're right there to let us know how it goes. So everybody on the advisory committee seemed to really like the card. We did want to get it in front of you all. Only thing, I've been reaching out to make sure I have the right logo for any haulers, but that's about it. And then just to kind of show that in the text here, that we're trying to address some different audiences. So in this case, new recyclers, we really, you know, we want to get this out there so that you got your recycle cart for the first time, everybody's going to be on the same page. Current recyclers, we could do the same thing. We can still put these cards on current recyclers, you know, and kind of get them caught up. We also have the Recycle Right program that we've done in the Urban Services District as well as a couple of our haulers areas. And then there's the non-recyclers and skeptics that I'm hoping to create some kind of quick start guide, which would be different based on where you live. But we know sometimes it's a bit of a barrier, especially if you're in an unincorporated or maybe an area where it's just not real popular with the entire neighborhood, so people just think it's not available or something. It's amazing what you hear when you talk to people out in the field. Also, Smurfit West Rock Tours, Kim and her team has been great on allowing us to keep a tour that we host. So, you know, I've got 3 more scheduled for this year. So if you want to go again, or if you know someone, spread the word, because a lot of skeptics, that helps. Seeing is believing. Even people who are like, well, I recycle, but I'm just not so sure it's worthwhile, you know. We love that. And then we had a comment at the last meeting, I think it was Sumeda, that mentioned using some recycling stats as far as like tonnages and, you know, how much we're collecting, and sharing that in a way, in kind of a messaging type way. So we do have a meeting with all the waste haulers scheduled for September 5th. Bob, I guess, already had to leave. He wanted to speak to me about it, so I'll just give him a call, but, and see where we go from there.
All right, any questions? That looks great. I would be curious to know if we have data on adoption rates for recycling itself. I know that's one of the big objectives is to drive up adoption rates. Because if we could understand what areas have, high or low adoption rates, then that can kind of drive some of our messaging or where we target.
When you say adoption rates, do you mean participants?
Recycling adoption, yeah.
Okay.
Like Brandon.
So, I'm not sure. We have a lot of data.
Okay.
And we can work on sharing a little bit more of that and seeing what it's doing. I think that you can put it into several buckets, which is urban services district, contracted, where it's really difficult is in subscriber areas where you've got multiple haulers on the same street. That's where it becomes really difficult.
Yeah, so as part of our annual reporting as a hauler, you're required to show how many customers you have for residential trash, yard waste, and recycling. So if you look at year-over-year numbers,
Yeah.
you should be able to see an increase or decrease, but there are problems like Pete said, where if, like WM, we count the customers that we have, over the course of a year, where you might have a double counting if somebody is changing haulers, but that should wash out over time. If you have 40,000 one year and 45,000 next year, even with double counting, you should be able to see a trend.
I tend to like to look at it in two different ways. One is availability. It's, you have the ability to do it. It's part of it. A lot of people in the urban services district, it's part of what they get, but they just don't. So
Yeah.
it's available to them. And then to get the participation rate, which is a whole lot different and more
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think if we could get some kind of aggregated data, because that doesn't require costs or anything like that, where we could just have like a deduped, aggregated, maybe by zip code or something like that, and then that could maybe help us in some of our campaigns, where we know, okay, well, they don't even have this available to them, in this and this and this area, or less than 30% have it or something.
I think anecdotally, I could say a lot of that stuff, but what we really need, and, the haulers are required to report certain things, but it doesn't get into a level of detail that you can pull that stuff out. You have to message it out. But, we can look at the way that we do.
Yeah, as Pete mentioned, there's even there's a participation rate with private haulers in terms of people that are paying for the service, and that might be through an HOA or a city. But again, just like you have in your urban services district, just because somebody's paying for it doesn't mean that, that they're actually using it.
Right. It's just step one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But if they don't have step one, then they can't get to step two.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, looks like we have an approval of the new recycling info card, right?
Yeah, we wanted to bring it to the board because it did go through the advisory committee process where we voted to move it and bring it to the board. So if you guys have any suggestions, we're more than happy, but if you guys are okay with that, if you would approve it to be a published thing from the waste district.
Yeah, I move to approve the card.
Give me a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Question, smaller size, I mean, that's a big size. Can you still see the pictures and the information below those pictures?
We've printed it and made a mock-up of it. I think it's in Pete's
So it's
office
still
that I
readable
made.
then?
Yeah, I believe so. Mhm.
And then recycling, in the blue area there, collecting your recycling, is that how people talk about it, or recyclables, or just the wording seems funny there?
Okay, I'll look at it, compare it to other things, but,
Or emphasize it, something, recycling,
okay. You're talking about the thing at the top of the second one with like recycling collection
No, I
there,
was talking about
or?
this one here. Yeah, no matter who is collecting your recycling.
Oh, I see.
The do's and don'ts. of this.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, let me look at that one.
it sounded like that was one of the big things you wanted to emphasize, right? That it's the same no matter who the caller is.
It's, we have worked really hard to come to consistent messaging. It's been a message, it's been a theme for every conference that we went to, no matter where we're at. And understanding our city with multiple haulers, multiple different ways that it's collected, it can be confusing. Consultants all say that we have a very confusing system. So having that consistent messaging, because people move, would be beneficial to allow people to know this is what I recycle. So consistent message, it was part of our 5-year solid waste management plan action items. So I think that this is only starting to get us going. Now you have, multifamily properties. You have commercial that we need to still make sure that we're being consistent on and how we get that out there. So that's why we're trying to expand our education team, because we still have a lot to do. So we're working on it.
And I think the use of the word recycling is good there. I think recyclables doesn't imply that you're actually separating it out, participating in recycling. Just because it's recyclable, it still could be in your trash or in your yard waste even, which, you don't want to do, but I mean, it ends up there. But I think recycling sort of implies that you're paying for a service or putting it in a recycling corner.
What's this card made of?
Well, it's not made yet, but
Well, I mean,
our sample is
it's not
kind
gonna
of
get
a
wet.
cart.
It's not gonna get wet and get destroyed.
No, it wouldn't get destroyed from being on a cart. Obviously, we don't want people to leave them hanging on their cart forever, but putting it there on a rainy day or something is not gonna totally destroy it.
It wouldn't be the only place that we're using. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about community events, having them at libraries, any place and every place that we can get these out, because it doesn't matter where you're at in Jefferson County, the same applies.
Yeah, and the more standardized that it is, the higher the chances that we're going to be able to increase those adoption rates. The more complicated you make it, the more people are gonna be like, it's a hassle. So I think it looks great, and we do have a motion on the table. It's been motioned and seconded. Do we have any further questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the recycling info card for the recyclers has been approved. Go to staff report.
Just some announcements. We've had some staff change and additions. One, two at the top, Sarita on the left, and Jenna on the right. I think Jenna's here in the back. Both of those are enforcement. Sarita is the manager. She also has recycling centers and household hazardous materials under her umbrella. Jenna is specifically going to be on the illegal dumping enforcement, licensing enforcement, set out enforcement. So she's got her hands full as well. But she's been a enforcement officer for quite some time with us, and she does a fantastic job. So we're really happy to have her moved into that position. Secondly, we have added Diana Tobias. Is she still here? Oh, there she is. She is our new education. Gary, do you want to make your introduction?
Well, sure. So Diane Moon is our public education coordinator. We've had since 2020, but we've doubled that. So now we have 2 public education coordinators. So Diana is who got that position. Yay! She already worked in our office as an admin, so it was a nice transition, in my opinion. I guess your opinion could be different.
So there's one other that came up since I sent this presentation. Karen Maynard was named the education manager for the department, for the district, which Karen has done a fantastic job leading the education team, and we have a long way to go. But for those that were not around when we didn't even have an educator, to see where we've come under her leadership has truly been amazing. So extremely happy to have her, to be filling into that role. We'll have to backfill her supervisory spot, so we will have 4 people focusing on, education. And we still don't have enough, so, but we are going in the right direction. So, congratulations to.
All right, so we're finished with staff report. On to announcements. The next 109 board meeting is Wednesday, September 25th. And we don't have the time listed on that. It should be at 5:30, right?
Yes.
Yes, the board meeting is set for that day.
Okay. And we have the advisory committee meeting on Wednesday, September 18th at 4:30. Do we have any other discussion items? All right, well, then at this point we can adjourn.
Does anyone from the public have any comment?
Does anybody from the public have any comment?
Okay.
All right.
We wore them down.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Sorry, that was a long meeting.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, anytime you have to start with, naming the chair, vice chair.
So if you do, sure, can get us refreshments for every meeting now?
I'm not gonna hear of anything.
That's all right. The chair is 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Over time.